Hello and welcome back to Scale War Machines. These are 3D printed items that I've made at home using the Halot X1 Resin 3D printer by Piocreat, the machine behind me. In this video, I'll be exploring a bit more about the technology and telling you about my journey into 3D printing. Let's go. Now, for some time I've been interested in getting into 3D printing. I'm new to this, so this won't be a tutorial. Instead, it will be my account of getting into this new aspect of the scale modelling hobby. And I was very lucky because I was contacted by Piocreat and offered to review their Halot X1 Resin 3D printer. This X1 was part of a combo bundle that included a resin heater and feed. And they also sent along a Creality washing and curing station. I explore everything that came with these two products in this video. If you know the channel well, you'll see that over the years I've reviewed a number of 3D printed products from a number of manufacturers. Those have been a mixture of resin products, but also filament style 3D printing, or indeed filament style masters that have been recast as resin molded items. I've always been curious about the technology, and until recently I was hesitant to adopt it. There's a number of reasons why. Firstly, as we'll explore in this video, the outlays are undoubtedly expensive, at least at the beginning. There's also a number of costs associated with it. There's a lot of consumables and things that you might not expect. Anyway, I want to be fully transparent. This was of course supplied for review, and you need to factor that in. Piocreat sent it to me and they said, say what you like, review it. They haven't had any involvement in it. They're happy for me just to try it out and showcase it. The cost of all these items totaled up is quite significant, so you need to bear that in mind. As costs change, I will simply put the pricing in the description, but as you'll see, the possibilities are endless. This is the Creality wash and curing station, which of course is an important part of the process of resin printing. You'll need to be able to wash, decontaminate and cure all your parts. Once that's all done, here's the sort of components you can expect to print at home. So let me run through this as we unbox it. As opposed to a filament style printer, these tend to be a bit more expensive and they market themselves as offering a better resolution in terms of prints. Remember, I'm a beginner, there's plenty of 3D expert channels on YouTube. I propose in these videos to simply show you my experience of getting into 3D printing, and particularly resin 3D printing for scale modelling. My sole experience with 3D printing was the off-the-shelf type accessories, and as you'll see later on, there's still a strong argument for buying those ready printed, or indeed getting someone else to print them. But there's equally a valid argument for printing them yourselves. As you'll see, I'll explain this later on, but the possibilities of buying and downloading your own files and putting them into a printer like this are really exciting. I'll show you some of the prints that I bought throughout this video and any subsequent videos. Here you get a sense of what's in the box then. So you get this cube-shaped tool. It's all very well packaged, and inside you get a bunch of accessories, and because it's the combo you get the feed and heater unit as well. And a very sturdy metal build plate with release handles and indentations. Piocreat also bundles a load of accessories including masks, spatulas, filters and so on. In terms of technical specifications, it claims to be self-leveling with that quick release build plate. It's got a 16K mono LCD with 92 light zones and intelligent exposure. It prints at 170mm per hour, and it boasts a high resolution 10-inch screen with small pixel sizes. Thanks to its dimensions, which you can see on screen, it allows for quite a large build volume, and it all seems very well made and well packaged. I unboxed it all on the bench. It was pretty quick and easy to set up. The mains lead goes in at the back, and I placed it on this temporary turntable just to make it a bit more easy to handle. This will not be its final resting place, and as you'll see, these items are somewhat cumbersome. You do need space, and when I unbox the wash station in a minute or so, you'll see that to have these two machines, plus indeed the auto feed component, you need a fair bit of space in your workshop. A bit like some other tools I've reviewed on the channel, you really don't want this kind of machine in your household or living space. There are some issues around health and safety and personal protective equipment that you should certainly consider, and you don't want people interacting with these kind of machines, products and odours. There wasn't really a comprehensive guidebook or instruction manual, but I find it interesting that nowadays these sort of machines often come with the very basic quick setup guide, and the rest is sort of down to you. Obviously I researched online and there's multiple reviews and examples of unboxings and use case scenarios for this particular machine, but I thought it would be most interesting for you to see how I use it in my particular scenario and what I think is most useful. Other than that true self-leveling build plate that it boasts, you'll also see that it has little handles at the side which twist, which allow segments of the plate to protrude forwards, and that will remove your prints. At the bottom there's the tub or vat where the resin will go, and that has a film at the bottom that needs to be looked after, as indeed does the screen that is underneath it. It's worth mentioning that the machine itself is only one part of the technology. As with so much these days, you do need the computing backup to create and handle files. Luckily, of course, there's plenty of options that are open source or free. In terms of computing, I downloaded Chitubox, watch other people who make 3D printing content, and they can suggest other examples. When it comes to the accessory that was bundled in the combo set, the auto feed and heating unit, you get a couple of lids and all the pipe work and tubing necessary to keep the machine fed with a constant supply of resin. If you didn't have this accessory, you'd be in the territory of topping it up yourself and making sure there's always plenty of resin, which of course means you have to babysit the machine a bit more. What this little unit does is it senses the level of resin, it makes sure it's adequate for the volume required in terms of your print, and it feeds it into the vat or the tray and makes sure it's always topped up. It can warm your resin to the optimal temperature. It also helps empty the tray when you finish printing and can be used to flush it clean with cleaning products. It's powered off USB, and on the machine itself you've got a USB type A to take your files and plug them in on a pen drive. I suggest of course you always use the pen drive supplied with the machine. You hook that into your computer and any designs can be loaded onto that pen drive and imported into the machine. There's a big screen and very usable interface on the machine itself, very easy to navigate. It also caches and keeps a record of past prints, so you don't even need to plug in the USB for some repeat prints. And don't worry, you can also print over Wi-Fi. There's a special auto feed head component, and one of the first jobs you'll have to do is to make sure you fit it correctly. In effect, what you need to do is remove a little protective plate and install the auto feed head supply unit. So it's fairly easy to do. I took my time and just unscrewed it, and then you take the rectangular feed head and put that in its place. There's the feed head, so once everything's been detached and the plate removed, you can attach that. It's got two little clips at the side, and it takes a little cable input and a tube for the resin feed. Just remember, it needs to be unclipped and put to the side every time you remove the vat. The USB connection and feed tube can be seen at the top and back of the unit there. Next, it was time to decide where to put the machine and its sister, which you'll see in a minute, the cleaning station. And I decided to put that along the back wall of the workshop, and that's where they'll live, at least for now. As I'll go on to explain, there are stages in 3D printing. You've got all your software file handling side, you've got your actual printing, and then you've got your cleaning and your UV curing. So both those two machines will be going here for now. There's no doubt that this is a part of the hobby where you need plenty of space, plenty of cleaning agents, plenty of real estate located for it. And of course you hear of small scale manufacturers and stuff who have farms of these sorts of printers to make their products. I believe there's some connection between the owners, but they seem to have separated out Piocreat for the 3D printing side, and then Creality still handles things like these wash stations and cleaning products and curing stations. Here again you can see it's a fairly large item, but actually it's quite simple in terms of what it is and what it does. being completely new to this, I very much entered into this wanting to download and print small scale accessories initially. But I'll be totally transparent. I'll show you exactly my learning curve and the successes and failures I had along the way, along with some of the reasons I think that those either succeeded or failed. And that brings us neatly to the first prints that I undertook. You simply select the appropriate file, hit print. Now, interestingly, temperature is going to be one of the first things I'm going to talk to you about. Initially, my first prints, I didn't really think about temperature, and I didn't use the heating function on the auto feed. But I think temperature and being on a turntable were two factors that meant that my initial print wasn't amazing. In fact, it went wrong and gave me a bit of a panic. But of course, as you'll see, everything is pretty easy to resolve. So what were the first files I decided to print? Well, I went for something super simple, but I went for some 3D files from Cults 3D. I'm going to put down the prices of every single file I bought, and I went for these Jersey style barriers, concrete barriers, because I thought, well, it's a simple shape, should be nice and easy. So I worked on those on my computer, and it was very easy to grab those, put a simple raft or support or supports, use the software to slice the whole design into layers for printing, and export. Take note there that feed heating is not turned on, and that I think was a factor in these first tests. As you can see, the resin is pumped from the auto feed via the tubes to the head area and then into the tray itself or the vat. When it thinks it's got enough resin, the whole assembly at the bottom, tray and screen, moves upwards towards the build plate at the top of the machine there. And the process begins. And layer by layer, it takes the slices that you created in your software and begins to print them slice by slice. It moves upwards and downwards on the same axis and begins the print, which slowly emerges. It's just beavering away, printing each layer, and there's 670 or so in total. What I found disconcerting is you can't really see it, there's no camera or anything. Now, as the print went on, I began to get glimpses of it, and it became obvious from where I could look into the machine that something had gone wrong. My very first print with this machine, and this is really nothing to do with the machine, it's probably due to my ignorance about 3D printing, but it was fairly obvious that something had gone wrong in the way I had handled the file, added supports, or just set the machine up, because what clearly had printed was the raft and support bases I had added, but there was no actual object itself. There will be failures, and I kick-started my 3D printing with something that had gone wrong. But what occurred to me was I had beautifully printed supports, so once I'd worked out what the problem was, I was clearly going to get a nicely printed object. When I had a look at the actual resin reservoir itself, you can see also where the print became detached and where things started to go wrong. So roughly at the beginning, or the first few layers of the object I was printing, clearly everything got exposed and the print separated and something went radically wrong. But this is fairly common, and it's actually quite easy to remove it with the spatula that is supplied in the set. And I was able to reset and start again. And to work out what had gone wrong, I thought, well, I'll go back to the Prints Marketplace and just download a test piece, something that is used for testing. And I thought, well, I'll use that next. I cleaned out the tray with isopropyl. Because the film is flexible, you can just get a spatula under the edge and remove all of this, which is exactly what I did. So I cleaned everything up and was ready to try again. This time with the test piece, I downloaded my second print, and I'm pleased to say this one went really well. It printed with high resolution, quite intricate shapes and designs. Notice at this stage I still hadn't turned on the feed heating, and we're sitting at about 18 degrees C, which really isn't warm enough. And as you'll see, the print was actually successful. I was definitely finding my feet from that point on. I still had a couple of failures. I tried to print some ammo boxes, but they got stuck to the vat and the film as well. But things improved markedly when I started using the feed heating, and crucially when I made sure that the machine was level by taking it off the turntable. I also tweaked the settings in the software itself to thicken the first layers of every print. From then on, I was rocking and rolling. I had a much better success rate. And here I'll show you the printed barriers as well as various other items, all downloaded from Cults 3D and all to be explained in a bit more detail in the next video. This machine is about as much out of the box as you can get in terms of making it user friendly and easy, but this is a steep learning curve with these kind of machines. As this video is getting a bit long, I'll show you some glimpses of progress, and in the next video I'll be giving you tips on everything I've learnt and showing you yet more of my prints, what I've learnt about software and workflow, the sort of extra supplies you'll need to buy, and giving you my findings on some things you need to consider if you're going to get into 3D printing. However, that's all for now. If you're interested, there's a discount code in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.
Subscribe for our latest videos.